OMGs, boys, girls, in-betweeners, welcome back, Red Gambit here, and I've got a question for you. Who hunts the bully hunters? Now, I'm here to talk about a new website that is currently blowing up social media, Reddit, Facebook, and God knows what else, and it is called Bully Hunters, or bullyhunters.org if you want to check it out for yourself. Now, before we jump into this discussion, there's a couple caveats that I really feel I need to preface this conversation with. And the first one is that I do not endorse or approve of online bullying in any way, shape, or form. Now, this is not a legal disclaimer. This is not something to get me out of trouble or to make me look more virtuous. It's just my general belief. I think it's really shitty to do that to people, and if you disagree, then I will genuinely fight you in the street. Secondly, there's going to be a lot of discussion in this video, and it can't be done without mention of a lot of hot topics, a lot of hot button issues, movements like Me Too, Time's Up, third wave feminism in general, and I'm not going to state my opinions on any of those things. While they are tied to the topic that we are going to be discussing, I'm staying right out of that arena, and I'm not going to comment on them at all. You are welcome to comment about them below if you want, but I have a policy of usually trying to answer everyone's comments at least once. If you do bring up those topics specifically and why you think they're not valid for any reason, I'm just going to ignore you because, as I said, it's a rabbit hole that I just don't want to go down, and it's nothing pertinent to this channel, so there you go. That said, now, who are the bully hunters? Well, several hours ago, there was a live stream announcing this, basically, and it's a new website called bullyhunters.org. And it is a website that is dedicated to the eradication of not only bullying but also harassment towards women, which is obviously a noble cause because, as we all know, women, don't have the best time online. There are obviously cases of harassment, sexual harassment, especially with female streamers as well. They do have a very hard time a lot of the time, and I wish I could. I obviously haven't experienced that myself, but it must suck. I think we can all agree on that. So any website that wants to try and stamp that out is, it's a good thing, I think. It's a noble cause. It's a great idea. Now, while the live stream and site are currently centered solely around CSGO, so Counter-Strike at the moment, the announcer did state that they have every intent to spread their influence and their enforcers to all genres of online gaming, fighting games obviously included within that. Now, to save you the pain of enduring the awkward and let's go into this a little bit later, but it's an orchestrated live stream, I'm going to lay down the facts here of what it's all about. Now, basically, the concept of this site is that if you are playing CSGO, as it is at the moment, or maybe in the future a fighting game like, say, Street Fighter, if you're being bullied, you can use the website of Bully Hunters or the app to contact a bully hunter who is a enforcer or elite gamer, as I like to put it, who will then join you in your game and will kill your bully and then leave a calling card in the global chat, basically saying that bullying is not a game, and the bullyhunters.org website. Now, you're probably curious as to how bully hunters are actually financing this whole operation of theirs, and they are basically being sponsored by several partner organizations, some of them being SteelSeries, Cyberpower, and Vertigear. Now, there are also unverified claims that the National Organization for Women is helping to fund it as well. So there's potentially some pretty big money being thrown behind this little endeavor, and if you see some of the video clips that are coming up on the screen in somewhere in this video, I haven't really decided yet where yet, you can basically see that this is not something which is, this is not amateur hour, this is a pretty professional looking event that they've got going here. So what has happened since the stream? Well, there has been a meltdown on Reddit and Twitter surrounding not only the content and aim of the organization, but some of the statistics used in the promotion basically being told that they're being guesswork, that people have said that these are statistics that have been extrapolated and blown up to astronomical numbers, which, if you even know the slightest thing about gathering statistics, it's a no-no. It's statistics 101. It's just, you can't take a small sample size and just blow it the fuck up and expect it to still be accurate. SteelSeries confirmed that the proceeds from Bully Hunter headsets are going to the hashtag #MeToo movement, which basically means they're giving money to celebrities, which is probably not the best way you could be spending any money that you're actually looking to go towards charitable organizations. And as I mentioned earlier, there have been various accusations that the events of the stream were staged regarding live bullying of a female gamer. Now, I'm going to put a clip up here, but you can watch this and draw your own conclusions, but let's be honest, if you have a half-hour live stream and you have a room full of female gamers who are all playing CSGO, it's going to be pretty awkward if none of them have any kind of bullying event happen during the live stream. That it's very fortuitous that one person happened to just chime in with some very, very inappropriate and degrading remarks throughout the stream, and they were able to demonstrate how elite their crack crew of enforcers were. So, if you want my opinion, I'm calling bullshit on it, but you can draw your own conclusions.
Pink Light 23's game. She's doing what she loves, playing CSGO.
You want to get raped, bitch? I know where you live. I can't handle how big her tits are. You want me to rape you?
Now, that's exactly the toxic behavior we're fighting against here. Now, let's see how she used our global tool to call a bully hunter.
Alright, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Why is this a terrible, awful idea? And, I mean, my god, where do I start? As I mentioned earlier, bully hunters are only targeting CSGO right now, and they tend to spread to the FGC as well as other online competitive arenas. But the presentation, if you actually watch it, it paints women as victims of sexual harassment online. One of the presenters even used the P word, which, no, I'm not talking about penis, I mean she actually dropped the word patriarchy, and how all men are a potential threat to women online unless they are educated and led to become champions of equality. Now, if I had a week, I couldn't explain to you all the things that are wrong with taking this approach. It's been proven to be a terrible approach. If you want to get men on the side of women in terms of being able to have equality and to feel safe in certain spaces, you can't just say all women are a potential threat until they are educated. It is not only just grossly offensive at the most base level, it's a terrible approach because you are instantly alienating half your audience, putting them on the defensive, having to use the old chestnut of, well, not all men do this, and it really makes them generally resentful to your cause. So they really have started off on a very bad foot here if they're looking to try and get half the freaking population onto their side in terms of supporting this particular endeavor. Now, beyond that, let's look at the actual mechanics of what they're looking to try and achieve here. They call in someone to the game of CSGO, they hunt down the bully and take them out and leave a calling card. Now, first and foremost, leaving a calling card is not going to intimidate a bully, it's going to antagonize them. And there's a couple of good reasons for this. First of all, it proves that you're weak because you can't handle your own shit online. And secondly, let's use a schoolyard analogy here. Let's take you back, let's jump into the Wayback Machine, go back to when you're about, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't really care, that kind of age. When you're in a schoolyard, and when I'm assuming that most of us have experienced bullying at some point or another in our young school lives, what did you do when you were told you were being bullied? You had to go to a teacher, right? You had to go to the teacher and report the bully. So you'd go to the teacher, and the teacher would come over and give the bully a stern talking to and maybe a token slap on the wrist, as it were, and tell them not to do it again and go off. And what happened after the teacher left? Did the bully stop bullying you? Fuck no! That bully would bully you twice as hard because now the teacher wasn't there and you can't run to the teacher every single time. They can't be there to protect you all the time. So this is just going to make things worse, I think, for people who actually use the service. I think it's a very bad idea. Now, on top of that, they are marketing their enforcers, and I'm calling them enforcers, that's not a word they use, but they really are enforcers. They're calling them elite gamers at the moment, but point is that you can't win all the time. It doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to fail at some point. And so what happens if you call in an enforcer and they don't get the job done? What if they, what if they get killed in CSGO? What if you invite them into an online lobby in Street Fighter V and they get bodied? It's going to not only make things worse for you, it's going to also hurt the reputation of the organization as well, or at the very least of the enforcer. Well, I mean, they're going to be fucking useless, so enforcers might be disposable, they might be discardable, they might just be viewed as a resource that can be traded at any point if they don't perform well enough, but point being is that it doesn't seem like a foolproof plan, if you know what I'm saying. On top of that, it feels like a cynical attempt to ride the popularity of the aforementioned Me Too and Time's Up movements. Because, I mean, let's be really honest, I mean, aren't there bigger fish to fry? I mean, yes, I don't approve of bullying, I don't think it's good. In a perfect world, we would not have to deal with it, but isn't there, bigger problems like social media? Things like that? Aren't there people taking their own lives, children, high schoolers who have killed themselves because of bullying on these platforms? Shouldn't we really be focusing our attention on there? Yes, bullying is a problem in online gaming, but I don't think it's the biggest problem we have to deal with right now. Beyond that, I think gamers are also really the wrong crowd to misrepresent because, yeah, the gamers are mostly male. At least, I mean, depending on the type of games that you're looking at, obviously. If you're looking at mobile games, obviously the percentage of female gamers becomes a lot higher. But in terms of like your quote-unquote hardcore games, like your Street Fighters, like your CSGO, things like that, obviously we all are going to acknowledge that male gamers are the majority here. And if you're antagonizing a crowd who number in the millions, have a lot of spare time, disposable income, and the warm cloak of anonymity, let's be honest, you are poking a bear with a very short stick, because they are going to basically throw everything they have at you to try and bring you down. They're going to dox you, they're going to DDoS you, they're going to really do everything in the most biblical, shit-raining sense to ruin this if you get them offside, which is what I really think they're doing at the moment. I think they have really had a very bad initial impression here, and it's not going to help them one bit. One thing that was also overlooked is that the system is really ripe for abuse when you think about it, because while they didn't show, I'm hoping they didn't show every step in the process during this video, it seemed agonizingly simple to simply log onto a website, point out the game that you're playing and the fact that you're being bullied. They will match you up with a bully hunter. The bully hunter will send you a friend invite, and you then tell them who's bullying you, and they go off and kill that person. That seems to me largely a system which is just, it's begging for trolls to use this to grief people. I don't understand. There's no checks and balances here. I mean, yes, obviously they have to move very quickly because speed is of the essence. You can't wait an hour or two because the moment has passed there. But, you know, what checks and balances are there to ensure that people who are doing this are actually being bullies themselves? I mean, isn't this really something which is going to create a lot of problems if it's not kept properly monitored and doesn't rely on what looks like to be the honor system at this point? And lastly, before we move on, they define bullying as anything which is disparaging, because one of the topics which they touched on a couple of times is that what is the difference between bullying and trash talk? And there was a woman who was a psychologist who stated that trash talk is where you basically build yourself up, where you talk about how great you are, and it's not disparaging towards the other person. And my answer to that is, have you ever heard trash talk? I mean, you only have to turn on your TV and watch a wrestler cut a promo in the middle of the ring to know what trash talk looks like, and that's the most vanilla flavor of it all.
The thrill of the game. The trash talk is about I'm elevating myself and improving my game, but not at the expense of you. So it's bringing myself up without, conversely, putting you down. So that's one of the elements of it.
Is that they will talk themselves up, sure, but they're also going to talk about how much you suck. They're not just going to talk about how great they are, they're going to remind you of how you're completely free and they can body you anytime, any place, and anywhere that they want to. So if your feelings get offended by that, then this is going to be a real problem for both you and the organization, because they're going to be snowed under in terms of the requests that they're getting for their help. So we talked about the problems with the system, let's talk about why this won't work in general. If we're talking about the fighting game community, the FGC, if this was ever to move beyond the bounds of CSGO and go into the FGC as they are advertising, it's going to meet a lot of resistance, and from the FGC itself, because the FGC is not only renowned for being toxic, it revels in it. You're talking about a crowd of people who love the salt and the hype built around rivalries and general animosity built up within its own fold. And while I don't like to partake in that attitude, obviously I've made videos in the past of how I myself have been on the receiving end of a lot of criticism from the FGC in terms of the videos that I've made, and how a lot of people in that group really don't like me, and I've gone to a lot of trouble to really separate myself from it. I can see the attraction of it, because when you think about it, you know, that is a ultra toxic, ultra competitive environment, which is incredibly caustic and incredibly destructive. But the bonds that you form, that are forged within that hellfire, you know, they're going to be bonds with someone that are very meaningful and very deep. And, you know, if we're going to talk about sexism and we're going to talk about, you know, men's emotions and how they're taught to be disconnected, which is something which they covered in this presentation, you know, that's a way that men do bond, if you're going to be honest about it. You know, if you want to talk about, if you want a good way to sum it up, I think that Cypher from The Matrix Reloaded said it best.
You do not truly know someone until you fight them.
And above all, nothing matters to the FGC more than skill. At the end of the day, your feelings are irrelevant. No one cares about them. No one cares about hurting them. But if you can go into that, if you can wade into that swamp, if you can go through that fire, and you can prove yourself with skill, you will win 1,000 times more respect than you will by calling in a bully hunter to teach someone a lesson because you couldn't handle a little bit of smack talk at the end of a match. Alright guys, this video has gone on long enough. That's going to wrap things up. So in the comments, I want to remind you guys, please keep things clean and civilized. I endorse the free exchange of ideas, but I don't want to see personal attacks. So please, guys, keep it down. Okay, I think we can all do that. But beyond that, what do you think about the video? What do you think about the bully hunters? Are they misguided? Are they really, are they on the wrong track, or do you think that they are paving the way for a noble cause? As always, like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be putting out more videos like this more frequently, so hopefully we'll be able to talk about new topics very soon. But otherwise, kisses, hugs, belly rubs. I will see all of you very soon.